In the years of the 1930s, Newcourt was a city in the hands of the gangsters. Crime was rule of the day, with citizens scared, police powerless, and politicians bored. The top dog being Salvatore Zaza, aka the godfather and head of the Zaza crime family. But things began to change as a masked man emerged from the shadows, driving in his silver Phantom, and waged a war with the city's top gangland figures, and eventually other criminals. That man was Benjamin Benny Cohen, but to the city of Newcourt, he was known as the Masked Dragon. I'm Harrison Phillips, city historian and butler to the Cohen family, and I'm writing entries about the dragon's exploits, all his adventures, all the crimes that were committed in this city, and all the criminals he and his allies had brought to justice. In today's story, we see him taking down the Black Mob, Mickey Green becoming his crime-fighting partner, and also how he got on the police's radar, making him publicly known in this city. This is the Dragon's Wars. We begin this story at a local speakeasy. Everything was quiet until gunfire erupted. After the shooting was over, the gunfire had ceased. It was caused by the dragon, as he was targeting a local speakeasy owned by Chuck the Boss Turner. Now we were finding it. Well, they were pretty much targeting local members of his gang, but he was finding it harder and harder to take him down. As with Mad Dog Dutch's death, Turner used the opportunity to move in and take over most of Mad Dog's operations. Anyway, after the gunfire, he quickly got in his vehicle, which was driven by Mickey, and returned to his apartment. By the time they arrived, Tony was there and asked how everything went, and Mickey said they were now pushing up daisies, a common term to saying how people were dead back then. Tony then gave him notes about a new racket that the Black Mob was now profiting off, the Numbers Racket, an illegal lottery that everyone is being a part of, as this was the Depression and people were desperate for money. Now we came up with a plan to break into Turner's main headquarters, destroy all the records of the racket, steal the money, and distribute them to the people of the community. Now the next night, just as Mr. Cohen was about to leave, he was stopped by Mickey, all dressed up to join him. Mr. Cohen asked what was with the costume. He said that he was going to need a partner, and so he became the Masked Dragon's first ever official partner. He became the Demon. That night they arrived at Turner's headquarters, a local candy shop. They snuck in the back, and just as they were about to attack the local goons, they witnessed a meeting with Chuck Turner and for the first time ever, they laid eyes on the godfather of the Zaza crime family, Salvatore Zaza. Now, at the time, they just thought he was just another gangster. But little did they know there'll be a long, long history between the Cohen family and the Zaza family. However, during the meeting, to Mr. Turner, someone of Zaza's reputation was an absolute god. Now, Mr. Zaza demanded a piece of the numbers racket or be destroyed. Now, he refused, saying that he was going to be in a world of hurt unless he cut him in. Later, he left, and when he left, our two masked heroes jumped in and started a shooting match. Now, after the shooting, we took the opportunity to go through the files and pretty much destroy all the records of everything with the numbers racket, and also get all the money that was used to essentially profit off it. Just as they were leaving, they noticed that Mr. Turner had quickly took his leave along with two other thugs, got into a car and drove off. Our two masked friends quickly got into the Silver Phantom and decided to chase him.
You're kidding me! What? The front three are jostling for position. You're kidding me!
They managed to cap up to Chuck's car and run him off the road. Chuck Turner, boss of the Black Mob, was dead. When the Dragon got out of the car and decided to take his briefcase, which had extra money, just as they were doing that, they just so happened that a cop car pulled up, and the police detective got out. Now, the detective in question was actually one of the few cops, believe it or not, to be absolutely honest and on no mobster's payroll. And that man was Detective Dick Warren. Now, he thought the Dragon was a fellow criminal, and first asked them for their names. When asked, he said he was the Masked Dragon and the Demon. He then ordered them to surrender, but they refused. They quickly got back in the car and drove away in the Silver Phantom, and the car managed to outrun the cops. Detective Warren reported the whole incident to his superiors, and since that day, law enforcement in all of Newcourt viewed the Masked Dragon and the Demon as outlaws. Now, as soon as they got back, they went to Tony about the whole thing, explained what had happened, explain what had happened, and then the next few days within the radios and the newspapers, as this report was all over the city, on how that the masked dragon and that the demon were new players in New Court's underworld and were beginning to muscle in on all the rackets. Of course, that wasn't true. The trio knew, and most of the citizens of their neighborhood, Hell Shop, definitely knew that wasn't true, but the city is what it is. The next day, they distributed all the money they stole from the black mob to the people of Hell Shop. It was also published in an article that the numbers racket was essentially smashed. However, the Zaza family took the opportunity to move in and take over the operations of the black mob, and even the Jewish mob, as their leaders were deceased, and most of the high-ranking members who could even take over that organization were either dead or just recently in prison, thanks to Dick Warren. And really, that began the turning point, as the trio now knew they were really in harder waters now. Not only were they trying to take down all the city's big rackets and mobsters, but they were now also, the police were after them because of Detective Warren's report, considering they were criminals. They knew they were having one hell of a road, as they were now considered criminals, and it was going to be hard for them to take down the rackets, because they knew how the criminals, had politicians and the cops on their pocket. When they asked Mr. Cohen about how they were going to do this, he just said, "Let the game begin." And that is the end of today's story. Please join us next time as the Masked Dragon and the Demon goes up against another mob in the next adventure of the Dragon Wars.
Watching all